Hi, this is Andre Bester, and you're joining me on This Is What We Were Told. On this channel, I talk about issues of faith that seriously challenged my belief in the integrity of the Bible. In 2020, I published a book on my spiritual journey called This Is What We Were Told. My book is aimed at challenging people to look beyond the limitations of religious belief and to take in the bigger picture of the wonder of life. In my book, I provide some food for thought for others who might be finding themselves in a spiritual dead end and who are searching for a more meaningful understanding of the world in which we live. On this channel, I want to give viewers a taste of the topics I cover in my book. On this channel and through my book, I aim to awaken people to the wonders of life playing out right around them, just beyond the boundaries of faith. So please join me, and hopefully you discover something worth your while here. In a previous episode, I spoke about how I started off on my journey to discover why religion and faith failed me. I mentioned the two-pronged approach I took, looking at scientific evidence, but also doing simple, common-sense thinking exercises. Today I'd like to talk about the first of these exercises that catalyzed a significant and fundamental shift in me regarding the merits of all religious thinking. It was significant because this was the first time my attention was drawn to the cracks in the foundations of my own religious convictions. Before then, I didn't notice that those cracks were there, probably because I was too biased and immersed to even entertain the possibility that such cracks might have existed. But suddenly, I wanted to find out why it was that religion and faith played such an enormous role in people's everyday lives. Why do people adhere to certain religious precepts? The short answer is because we were taught to think that way, mostly by our parents. But the more detailed answer is not that simple. I understood that I had to take a step back from my own religious roots and start thinking on why it was that so many people entertained faith in some or other religious teaching. I think it's part of human nature to simply accept as a given a lot of the realities that form part of our personal lives from the day we are born. Generally, we accept the reality in which we grow up without questioning it. There's a sun that shines, there are mountains and trees, there are people around us, we have spoken language, we go to school, we drive around in motor cars, we live in houses, we laugh, and we obey the law. These things, and many others, all form part of our lives in a very peculiar way. They are so unremarkable and mundane that we hardly have any reason to talk to one another about them. In fact, for most of the time, we don't even notice these things. They are so assimilated and blended into the personal landscape of each of our lives that they tend to become invisible. I mean, when was the last time that you checked whether the sun was still doing its job? It's only when something in this metaphorical personal landscape of ours is disturbed or threatened that we become aware of its existence and the important role it fulfills or used to fulfill. Just think, for example, of the impact that the hard lockdown of COVID-19 had on our freedom of movement. Before then, we did not even realize that we had freedom of movement. It was just a given. I think that in a very similar way, religious thinking and faith also form part of this landscape. We don't grow up consciously aware that we are Christian or Muslim or whatever. We don't constantly think that we follow a religion that fundamentally differs from other religions. We don't question the validity or meaning of the dogmas and rituals that we inherit from our parents, or the community leaders, and our culture. We grow up with them, we learn them from our parents and elders, we blindly accept them to be correct and true, and together with a multitude of other elements, they simply weave imperceptibly into the fabric of our metaphorical personal landscape. We simply embrace the totality of our own landscape as correct, and we feel safe in it. But you know what? This is not something that is unique to Christians. The Muslim experiences his own landscape as comforting, familiar, and correct. And in exactly the same way, the Hindu, the Buddhist, and the Judahite experience their own landscapes as reassuring, welcoming, and secure. Furthermore, the fact that the Hindu experiences his personal landscape as familiar and comforting is by necessity going to mean that he is going to experience the landscape of someone of different religious conviction as unfamiliar and unwelcoming. Why? Because whatever makes the Hindu's landscape uniquely Hindu is going to be conspicuously absent in the landscape of other religious groups. That which he believes to be correct, dear, and holy does not exist for him in any other landscape. You may think that someone of a different religious conviction would find all those things in your own landscape if only that person would give it a try. How many times have I, as a Christian, nurtured the following thoughts regarding other religious groupings? My religion is good, correct, and true. That is why you should rather come and see how meaningful my religion is and how good it works for me. You will then understand the logic of my religion and forsake yours to embrace mine. How presumptuous and audacious was this thinking? Little did I realize that this line of thinking had a mirror image on the flip side of the coin. In exactly the same way, people of other religious groupings are thinking that Christianity is wrong and that Christians will see the light if only they will give the other religion a try. And the problem doesn't stop here. As is the case with Christianity, the majority of religious teachings are backed by some or other holy book or inspired writings, by rituals, and by scores of people who can attest with the greatest of conviction and sincerity to the miracles of their gods. Christianity has no edge on any other religion in this regard. The adherents of all major religions fervently and passionately believe that their own religion is the only true religion that holds the key to eternal bliss. They all believe their God is alive and that they perceive their God's movement and involvement in and around them. They can all back up their claims about the reality and truth of their religious beliefs with testimonies about hearing and seeing God, about prayers having been answered, and about some or other deeply profound spiritual movement. This is all very wonderful, but it also points to a glaring problem that we need to recognize. The different religious teachings are mutually exclusive. Each one discredits the other as false. So, even though the testimonies and stories are beautiful and dear to us, they cannot all be correct. In fact, there is a staggering possibility that they all are wrong. There's literally nothing that Christianity offers in respect of which any of the other major religions has to back down. Your God is love? Well, so is mine. Your God created heaven and earth? I think you're mistaken. My God created heaven and earth. Your God defeated death and rose from the grave on the third day? Well, my God is above death. Your God does miracles? Well, maybe you should come and check the miracles my God has done. Okay, so what does all of this mean in practical terms? Well, to start with, all religions have one characteristic in common. Any one religion is objectionable based on the ostensible merits of every other religion. This is not a nice thing to hear, but this is the reality. All the major religions proclaim their individual merits based on one or more of the following: a divinely inspired holy book, a host of witnesses giving testimony of the wonders of their God or gods, and a solid conviction held by the faithful that their God is the only true God and that their holy book is the only true revelation of God. If we say that the merits of a religious teaching are measured against these standards, you have to concede all religious teachings find themselves on equal footing. They are all equally rejectable as far as one another are concerned. They are all shooting one another down. From a common sense perspective, my mind was telling me that something was very wrong in this picture. How could these very divergent groupings all be claiming to have the truth? Who has the real truth if everybody says the other one's truth is false? Maybe we need to look a bit closer at how it happens that people develop a faith in something. Join me next time as I take you through some further common sense thinking to explore why it is that people believe at all. This is Andre Bester for This Is What We Were Told. If you're interested in a copy of my book, mail me at the address on the screen and I'll be in touch. Have a lovely day.